Hi, I'm Melissa Cole, and I'm pleased to present my final capstone project, an Anti-Preschool-to-Prison-Pipeline teacher development series. So, to begin, let's orient ourselves by defining the so-called school to prison pipeline. So, this is a term that's been coined by researchers to describe this phenomenon of Black students being seemingly funneled into the criminal justice system at these disproportionately higher rates than any other demographic. So, why? So, pipeline entry often comes as a result of the use of excessively punitive and exclusionary disciplinary practices. So, simply put, excessively punitive means that the punishment doesn't quite match the purported crime. So, for every instance of talking back, chewing gum, wearing the wrong colored socks in a uniform school, shouting 6, 7, all these relatively minor infractions, you might be subjected to exclusionary disciplinary practices. That is any sort of classroom removal, being sent to the principal's office, and up to suspensions and expulsions. So while it may all ostensibly seem innocent, regular classroom removal can sort of launch this snowball effect that impacts these students and adversely impacts these students both academically and socially. So when these students miss out on classroom time, it takes a toll on them academically, most palpably on reading skills. One researcher, Green, and her colleagues found that a majority of incarcerated youth struggle with literacy skills. And then on the other side of the coin, when you're removed from the classroom, you miss out socially. You're more likely to feel emotionally disconnected and alienated, according to one researcher, Morgan. And so when you don't feel this sense of connection with your peers or feel this sense of belonging in school, you're more likely to gravitate towards aggressive behaviors like vandalism or fighting. And these are the things that get you suspended or expelled. So then when you struggle in school, you drop out, right? And then when you are a high school dropout, you're more likely to deal with underemployment or even unemployment. And then when you're underemployed or unemployed, your likelihood of becoming an inmate increase as well. So the sum of all these things happening over and over again, um, over time for these students culminates in the premature entry into the criminal justice system. So check out this data from a 2019 US Department of Education report. Black male preschool students represented 25% of all suspensions, though they comprise only 8% of all students enrolled in preschool programs. So for that reason, some researchers have suggested the term preschool to prison pipeline to more accurately reflect the pipeline's origin within early childhood education. So with that, I sought to devise an early childhood curriculum that would counter or ideally eliminate the causes of the pipeline. But as I would later discover in conducting research for my literature review, the exclusionary and excessively punitive practices that were signature of the pipeline, they were always enacted by undertrained, perhaps stressed, perhaps biased teachers and or school administrators. So I came to the conclusion that any curricular or an instructional plan that I could make to counter the preschool to prison pipeline, it relied on teachers as a crucial conduit. So it's clear to me that an anti-preschool to prison pipeline requires a teacher that is well versed in pedagogical methods for literacy and writing, a teacher that's trained on how to embed social emotional learning throughout the entire curriculum, and quite importantly, like a teacher that's trained in culturally responsive pedagogy, so that they would be less likely to act on biases and the same biases that instigate the use of the exclusionary and excessive disciplinary practices that we talked about that cause the pipeline effect. So with that, I devised a highly engaging, asynchronous 3-week online professional development series with teachers in mind, and I make it available through the popular corporate online training platform Udemy to add to the flexibility, convenience, and ease for busy teachers. and it's aimed at K-4 elementary teachers in urban areas. And the goals are that these teachers walk away armed with the curricular and instructional tools for students to improve their academic performance in critical areas like reading and writing, as well as to create a safe space for teachers to do that inner work, and to cultivate the self-awareness tools that they'll need to improve their relationships with Black students. My research question: will a comprehensive professional development PD series for elementary school teachers K-4 reduce the use of exclusionary discipline, improve academic performance in reading and writing, and improve overall teacher-child relationships for Black students? Teachers are busy, again, so that's why it's important that this PD can be completed asynchronously. And it's designed for teachers to ideally complete in 3 weeks, each module in a week. Each module is approximately 45 minutes long. It'll contain short video lessons as well as quiz, and then short assignments with really small actionable steps, because how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And teachers will also have many opportunities to reflect on it and apply their learning, and ideally prompt deep introspection in this process. And because they can do it asynchronously and on their own, it's a safe space. Module 1 is called Becoming a Culturally Responsive Teacher, and it consists of 3 lessons: teacher beliefs, pushing the limits of student thinking, and creating joy. The first lesson in Module 1 is teacher beliefs. So it'll start off with a true or false that says student success largely depends on whether their teacher believes that they can. And that's true. Learners, teachers will also be shown a series of statements like these on the slide, and personally reflect on whether they have expressed any sentiments like these, like, my students can't pass this test, they won't be able to read this, he doesn't want to learn, she learned how to be disrespectful from her mother at home. So the goal here is to drive home the connection between the teacher expectations and student performance and achievement. Turner cited a series of studies that pointed to how teachers' low expectations can severely mitigate opportunities for Black students. Lesson 2 is called Pushing the Limits of Student Thinking. And here's Turner again. She says that Black students typically receive skill and drill instruction, which emphasizes basic reading skills, rote memorization of information, and worksheet completion. So with that, the aim of lesson 2 is to push teachers to contemplate if they provided students with opportunities to think critically, and will suggest the incorporation of multimodal and culturally responsive text as an application opportunity, and consider, like, do I give out too many worksheets? Okay, and finally, lesson 3, the last lesson of the first module, teachers will be prompted to consider how they can make their classrooms more joyful environments for Black students. After some self-reflection, teachers will have an application opportunity. This was inspired by a practice in Goldie Muhammad's text, Unearthing Joy. Teachers, they'll interview students and collect individual data on student joy and observe and track their joy over a defined period of time. My proposed outcomes might include a reduction in the use of exclusionary disciplinary practices, so fewer suspensions, expulsions, and sending students out of the classroom to the principal's office or losing out on recess time. Improved reading and writing academic performance on summative assessments, and improved teacher-child relationships, which it'll be up to the teachers to self-report on that part. Thank you for watching my presentation. If you were inspired to change even one small thing, then you could change the trajectory of a student's life. Here are my references. Thank you.